The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, March 6th, 2024, season 19, episode number 115. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We got our crew back together, Brian and Patrick and Amber, and today we're talking free agency. We are a week from the opening of free agency. Actually, next Monday, is it? I think
Monday
is the
tampering.
tampering period begins, and by Thursday we will be full-fledged into free agency, and there will be players signing. We'll see what this all means for the Dallas Cowboys. Like I've said this since the beginning of the offseason. I will believe that they're going to be aggressive there when I see it. But we'll see. We will see how it's going to play out, and it will start up next week. Before we get to our talk on free agency, though, there were a couple of other housekeeping notes that I wanted to go over with you guys. The first being Tyron Smith. There are reports out there that it doesn't look like he would come back to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, of course, all of that's kind of conjecture because you don't really know, if you're not in there in the negotiations, exactly what's going to happen. And certainly a lot of this has to do with what are other teams thinking with regards to Tyron Smith once he hits the free agent market. But I want to start the conversation by asking you guys, what factors do you think could make it less likely that he returns to Dallas?
Money. I think that's the prevailing issue right now. I think Tyron Smith wants to retire a Cowboy, and obviously the Cowboys want to retain Tyron Smith for 2024, but it just goes to what the market might bear out for him when you talk about potential suitors like the Chiefs, and I've read reports that the Patriots are trying to reach out to him effective next week when legal tampering starts, versus what the Cowboys would be willing to pay. Now, this isn't to say that the Cowboys are lowballing him, but I don't know that they would bid against what the Chiefs might offer, just hypothetically speaking. This is Tyron's last chance to get what he might view as a big contract before he ultimately calls it quits in the NFL. But I think that that's really just the crux of where they're apart right now. I think that as time goes on, and what you said earlier, as far as I'll believe it when I see it, this is a similar situation for me because we've all been in this game long enough to know that when it comes to negotiations, they can get ugly before they get pretty, right? So his agent and himself, they feel a particular way. They have a particular want. The Cowboys, they feel a particular way. They have a particular want, and the hope is that they can land in the middle. So is it likely that he returns? Maybe not. Is it still possible? Absolutely. So he's going to see what the market bears for him and go from there.
Picked a bad time to be a free agent. When you look at offensive tackles in the draft, there's 9 of them in the first two rounds. In the first 2 rounds. And what's going to happen is teams are going to look at this and they're going to think, okay, yeah, Tyron Smith has played at a very, very high level. Tyron Smith has also had seasons where he's played 2 games, 4 games, 3 games. He has not played a complete season, I believe, since 2015. Mm-hmm. So you got to look at that as a possibility going forward. Yeah, are you willing to also have a player that now has figured out by not practicing he could play better? Are you going to be willing to do that? Some coaches aren't. Guys I talked to, I was asking, like, listen, you love Tyron Smith, right? Yeah. Does it bother you that he doesn't practice? Yeah, it bothers me he doesn't practice. That's coaching mentality right there. So he's going to have to go to a unique situation. If he's chasing money, Dallas can't help him.
Right.
If he's chasing a ring, we'll see. Dallas the last 30 years has not chased a ring, or been able to get to a point where they can get in position to grab a ring. So those are the things that are probably working against you there. But if, like I say, there's some teams that are looking at this. We just got done with the combine, 9, 10 college players, tackles, quality plug-and-play guys. Kind of a bad time to be a free agent in this market.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter how great you are if you're not available. And that, like you mentioned, Brian, that has been a problem most part of his career. And I think he's obviously, when you talked about what he's chasing, I think he's definitely chasing money because he is nearing the end of his career.
Right.
And we saw it even last year, how important for him was. And I don't know how much of a public knowledge this is, but we know that he would get paid if he was even dressed up in full
Arizona.
uniform.
Yeah.
So there was a game where he didn't get to play and he was in
Arizona.
uniform, and that was important to him because it means money. We all want money. We all need money. And that's just part of it. So I think for him, I do see it very, very hard for him to go into this with a mentality of let me be team friendly. Let me be, money friendly for the team and do it for the team because I feel like we can get to where the end goal is. I don't think that's, and I'm not trying to speak for himself, but if I was him, that would not be my mentality. I would be looking at who can pay me most right now.
Yeah, Tyron Smith, he signed a long-term contract. He was making well below the market value for a long time. He also missed 45 games for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a wash.
So the thing that you think about if you're the Cowboys, like, well, he's looking at, well, you need to pay me. Well, we paid you when you missed over 40 games. Mm-hmm. We were paying you then too. And so it really was a two-way street here. He played at a very high level. Played 13 games, very high level last year. So now, see if you could take the opportunity. But you know what? Dallas is they're in a situation right now where they have to kind of give it some priority to what direction they're going to go, and they do have options at 24, and I think that they're clearly looking at those.
One of the things that's interesting to me is I think you look at last season, you say, okay, maybe the Cowboys figured out the magic way to keep him active, keep him healthy, which is not practicing during the weeks. Here's my question, though. When you look at other teams, he would be going into a situation where it's a new scheme.
Having to learn.
He's got new offensive linemen, and we hear from coaches all the time, offensive line continuity matters.
Yep.
How much can you really expect that in a new system with new offensive linemen, he's going to be able to miss that much practice time and the offensive line still be able to be as effective and him still be able to be as effective?
Yeah, that's the question that I posed to a couple of the head coaches that I know around the league that I asked. I go, does that make it? And they're like, yeah, we want all our guys to practice. It's important, and especially with that position. Stephen Jones has come on 105.3 The Fan. I've asked him about continuity. They always want continuity. They always want the same guys. We're living in an era now where we don't play with the same 5 guys every week, it seems like.
On any team, it seems
on any
like.
team.
Yeah.
So, him going in and out of the lineup, I don't think it's – he is a unique player. You're willing to bend over backwards to get him on the field. So some teams are going to have to pay him, and then they're going to have to, I'm going to use the word baby him to get him to the games each week. Some teams could do that. Others probably won't.
Amber, you mentioned the fact that his contract was very incentive-laden last year based upon his playing time or games that he was active. If you were the one making the decision, would you guys be willing to say, okay, I will give you in exchange for you giving me a short-term deal, I will guarantee that 1-year deal, knowing that it doesn't matter how many games you play, I'm going to guarantee this amount? Or would you stick with, hey, I gotta have some leverage in this, which means that when it comes down to how you get paid, it has to be based on the amount of games that you play?
When it comes to Tyron Smith, and I can't stress enough how much I love Tyron Smith for what he's done for this team and what he can still do for this team if he is actually going to re-sign eventually. But if you look at his lack of availability over the past several years, I'm not fully guaranteeing. Like, you have to be able to tie.
Not even for 1 year.
Not even for 1 year. I need your money tied to the incentives, especially because it goes to what Amber was saying, which is funny that you mentioned that, because yesterday, Nick Eatman and I, we were having a conversation about this, and this is something I brought up, which was the Arizona game as one example of the organization being able to look at Tyron and saying, hey, we gave you, that was $1 million check that we cut you, and you were on the sidelines with your pads on. So there's got to be some give and take here. And to that point, that would be a situation where it's like, listen, I understand the fully guaranteed for the 1-year deal. It seems like splitting the difference, but I would be wildly uncomfortable fully guaranteeing a full year, knowing I'm not going to get a full year from you. So I'm out on that one.
Why would Dallas do anything different? It worked.
Fact.
It absolutely worked.
The only reason I bring it up is because if that is a sticking point, which I don't know, if that's a sticking point for Tyron, where he's like, I'll go out somewhere else, and they're willing to give me more of a guarantee of my money, you're not willing to negotiate that.
No, hell no. I mean, I actually found a way for him to play 13 games. I figured it out. You throw the carrot out in front of him about the incentives, and you don't practice him. I figured it out.
Absolutely.
I unlocked Tyron Smith. is what I've done. Why would I want to change that? Nah.
Yeah.
Good
I'm
luck.
fully
You've been a
guaranteed.
great player for us for a long time.
And you'll be in the Ring of Honor, and
No
maybe
question.
in the Hall of
No
Fame.
question.
I think
No
he's
question.
that level of player.
No
but
question.
Yeah.
And you have the options. Do they want to move Tyler Smith? We'll see. Do they want to draft somebody? We'll see. Do they have somebody currently on the team, an Awesome Richards or somebody like that they really like? We'll see. Yeah. They have options. This is not something that's going to. I don't think they didn't run the ball worth a damn last year with him in the lineup. You got to figure something out with that first. Yeah. By the way.
So. Yeah.
And also, if you're, because again, let me put it two ways. One, I'm a player advocate. I want players to get as much money as they can. Go get your bag, 100%. But the question that you're posing is, let's put on the GM and the owner hat.
Right.
If I'm the GM and the owner, number one, I'm out on fully guaranteeing someone who hasn't played a full season in over, half a decade. Number two, I don't want to set the precedent. I don't want to set the precedent because that's going to come back sooner or later. Guess what? It's almost time to talk to Zach again. Right, and it goes so forth and so on. So between those two things, no sir, no way.
No, I agree. I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Zach's already held out on me one time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's almost time to talk to Zach again.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. I'm not guaranteeing anything when it comes to contract and with him because he's not guaranteeing me his availability. He cannot do that. Yeah. So if you can't meet that expectation. For a fact, and again, nothing is, anything can happen. But given his history with the Cowboys and his career and everything, and I love that they were able to figure out the whole, hey, rest him. But what do we talk about so often when it comes to the O-line? Consistency.
Correct.
The reps out there matters. Even if he is who he is and he does not need the reps, you still need it as a team all together. You need I think that is very important. It did work last year towards the last month of the year, and we saw that how effective he was. But I'm tired of and I've been saying this. I've been wanting to retire Tyron since I got here. And not because, and I love him. I love what he brings to the table and everything. But one, it sucks to see somebody not fully healthy, him walking around with those braces, knee braces and all of that. You want what's best for him, and I'm sure he knows what's best for himself too. But at the same time, I hate the unknown. I hate not being sure. Are you going to be there for me? Are you going to be there available for us? So that's the part that's why I've been in so many years, even though he's as great as he is. I just hate not knowing whether he's going to be available.
What you should really hate is the fact that somebody practiced for him all those weeks and didn't get better. That's what you should hate. That somebody didn't step up, that they went out there with a Doga and all of a sudden we're watching games and goes, okay, this looks a little iffy, a little shaky out there. Nobody got better as this thing went on when he wasn't practicing. That's the work you were getting. Development. Where are we on that? Mm-hmm. Where are we on the evaluation of our players?
Well, maybe
they've got to figure that out.
Maybe what they realize is that they don't have anybody that's necessarily there, and as you talked about, that option will be on draft day.
Kick it.
Here comes a
kick
new
it
guy,
or draft it,
and a guy that you can immediately throw in and get going.
They draft plug and play guys.
Yeah,
they're offensive linemen.
They
they figured out how to take offensive linemen and plug and play those guys.
Yes.
And the thing was, and I know that this is the boat that I was on and I'm still on, is you re-sign Tyron, but you don't allow that to preclude you from potentially taking his replacement in the first round. So
that would kill me.
Great. Nah, I would.
That would kill me. And you sat there and didn't play Mozzie Smith the whole year too. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about taking another guy.
Especially first round. That's why I disagree with
this
you.
This guy's going to play. I think we talked about this. This guy's going to play because Tyron isn't going to play the entirety of the year.
I get it, but if I got a guy in the first round, I want him out there.
Give me a damn center.
I
if
want
that's
him out
what we're
there
going to
day
do.
one.
That's the other conversation. But that's also why you want to try to get Tyron back, because if you lose Tyron and let's say you part ways with Biadish, now you have two starting. You're in trouble. You're in trouble because you can address them in the draft, but you can only address one in the first round unless you trade back.
They'll tell you Brock Hoffman can play.
Oh yeah,
they will tell you Brock Hoffman can play. They think Brock Hoffman. Now, we might not know that.
I will say what we
that.
saw at guard gives me hope.
Yeah,
like I think what we saw at guard certainly didn't make me think he can't play.
Yeah, see, to me, I think the best thing for them to do, and I don't think they'll do it, is kick Smith to tackle, put Bassett guard, and draft a center.
I agree with you. I
think that would be the best way. But they'll tell you, listen, hey, don't sleep on Brock Hoffman here. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I trust you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are in the chair. I'm just doing radio.
All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to jump into free agency. We're going to talk about some of the positions that are of most need for the Cowboys as they enter free agency, and then get into some names of some guys that may be available or that will be available that maybe the Cowboys should be looking at. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Register now for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys youth camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill levels, ages 6 to 16, are invited to learn from the best this summer at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Football camps are led by former NFL players, and dance camps are taught by the current Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Register before May 17th. To save $25, visit DallasCowboys.com/camps.
Welcome back. We are in the second segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment brought to you by Blockchain.com. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about free agency. Well, what I want to start with is I have a couple of positions, a few positions here on the defensive side of the ball, and I want you guys to rank them for me. I want you to rank them in order. Do we have money to
spend here?
No, I want you to rank them in order. I want you to rank them in order of areas where they need the most upgrades / reinforcements. Linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end, and cornerback.
Linebacker first. Yeah. Linebacker first, then defensive tackle. Then I would look at the other positions that you talked about.
Defensive end, cornerback?
Yeah.
Linebacker.
In cornerback, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I would go.
Rank them in
most needed, least needed.
Linebacker, DT. I'm torn between edge and corner. I'm going to go corner and then edge because I think you got some depth at edge, but you don't know what's going on with Gilmore, possibly returning or not returning just yet.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm like, damn. No, it's exactly because it makes a huge difference whether or not you're telling me if we have Gilmore back or if we don't.
Well, here's the deal. The way you have to assume this is free agents are not on your roster because as of next week, they will not be on your roster. So you're going to have to make a move either to get them or to get someone else.
So no Dorrance and no Dante.
Yeah, so basically all those guys are gone.
Yeah, it's in corner for me. Is what it is.
Because, again, you got to remember, you still have Trevon coming back from that injury. You expect him to be fully recovered,
Week
but
10,
it's
he'll
still
be ready to go.
It's an unknown. We don't know how he's actually, and we've seen it with other guys, and I'm sure we'll talk about Michael Gallup at some point, but players like that come back from an injury, we don't know how long it actually takes them to go back to their norm.
Right, and also, if free agents aren't on, then that means Jordan Lewis is not on either.
Right,
yeah
So
true.
no Gilmore, no Lewis. Diggs coming back off of an injury. The only
just have
definitive
Bland.
from day one, from September 9th, 11th, whatever that weekend is Deron Bland.
Yeah.
And then now you're looking at Israel, you're looking at Nashawn, you're looking at Eric Scott in the second year who couldn't,
But see, that's
earn
exactly
the
why
reps
I'm kind
last
of
year.
shocked that so many of y'all had cornerback last.
Nah,
is because
I
you
put-
basically got one thing you can rely on.
Corner above D for me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Edge, they have some depth there. Even if you lose Dorrance, which is a big
You would
loss.
even put corner under defensive tackle.
I think as we're having the conversation,
Yeah, because
I put him up.
Jonathan Hankins is a free agent, right?
Yep.
So that means he wouldn't be on the roster. So
First round pick from last year needs to step up.
right? Neville Gallimore,
Let's go.
Neville Gallimore is not on the roster.
Okay, fine with that.
So that means what you have is definitively you have Osa, okay?
Yeah.
Massive question marks around Mozzie, so you can't even depend on that right now.
That's a
Chauncey, Nito is trending upward, but that's not an impact guy like an Osa would be.
He's
or
got to
a,
figure
you
things
know.
out there with
So
Chauncey.
yeah, no matter how you slice, it's DT above corner because, and that's also when you talk about the value of the position as far as impacting games, trenches.
You say defensive tackle is more important than cornerback?
If you get the pressure up the middle from your defensive tackles and you can stop the run up the middle, then it makes it easier on your cornerbacks. But if you can't, then it makes it harder on your cornerbacks. A great defensive front, especially defensive interior, can make average cornerbacks better and good cornerbacks great. But it doesn't always work in the opposite direction.
Yeah, but if you don't have good cornerbacks, every play you're susceptible to a 50-yard touchdown.
No, that's fair. But this is the
70-yard
NFL.
touchdown,
You're supposed to have good
30-yard
cornerbacks, period.
Yeah, but right now we know we got one good cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Cowboys have one cornerback that's a good cornerback but coming back from injury, and everything else is unknown.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
If the question is, would I rather be weaker at corner or defensive tackle? And of course, you never want to be weak anywhere. But if I had to be weaker at one point than the other, I'd rather be a little softer on corner if I can be hellraiser on that defensive tackle position. If I can raise hell on that defensive front, my corners are going to be all right because the windows to throw and make good passes from the pocket, they're going to be dwindling if they exist in
I
at
think
all.
that's the idea that they try to sell you in this. I can't remember what draft it was, but who they drafted, but I remember Steven and Jerry kind of talking about it in the draft conference and just saying, well, when you stack up the front, which makes sense because that's where the play starts. You stack up the front, you got talent there, that by essence should help everybody else behind them, which is a great idea. But I've seen,
But they weren't doing it.
I've seen talent up front and then the secondary struggle in the back. So I think right now, the only reason I put cornerback third in the list would be because part of me, I feel like, oh, Trevon's going to be fine. We got Deron Bland. And I feel like even they could get Jordan or even Gilmore back.
Do you know why the Chiefs defense helped them win the Super Bowl? Chris Jones in that interior. Now their cornerbacks were doing some work.
I was
going to say the cornerbacks.
Is he a franchise tag guy?
Listen, the cornerbacks were doing some work. I'll also argue that
have
Snead,
both.
as great as he is penalty guy, handsy, all of that. So there's some.
So
Snead was handling his business on some of the islands that he was put on. So not to take away from the cornerbacks, but what I'm saying is more often than not they were wrecking the game up front, and that's what made it easier on the back end. So and I get what you're saying. The front office will sell what they sell, but at the same time, they haven't always committed to what they've been selling. So that's when you saw things like Dontari Poe, and that didn't work out. You're getting these value guys, the bargain bin guys who really don't fit the bill. But in my mind, essentially speaking, I am always going to build my defense from the front to the back, not from the back to the front, because I feel like if I can impact your quarterback, if I can make them panic, get in their personal space, get in their comfort zone, I can make them make mistakes. And when they start making mistakes and start hurrying, then I'm going to task my cornerbacks with making those plays, getting those takeaways, getting those pass breakups. But it gets much harder if you say, well, I'm just going to throw some average defensive tackles in there, some average edge rushers in there, and I'm going to get this all-pro lineup of cornerbacks. That's great. You're going to get plays being made on the back end, but more often than not, how much time is this quarterback having to throw? Those guys are going to – you can't cover NFL receivers for but X amount of time. After that, they're open, right? So that's my thought process. I always build front to back, never back to front.
They gave a premium draft pick to get Eric Scott.
They did.
Last year in this draft.
They did.
Need to figure that out.
100%.
Need to figure out what's Deshaun Wright's deal.
Contract year
as well.
Contract year.
It's a good year for corners in this draft, by the way, too. Yeah. I think you could find another Deron Bland throughout
that late
through this draft. Yeah,
okay.
I think there's some quality guys here, but yeah, they've thrown some picks out there to try and handle this. Boss man Fat, 2nd round pick, right?
Yeah,
didn't work out. They've tried, so maybe that's something we need to look at. Are they misevaluating some of these corners? Obviously, they hit on Bland.
Yeah,
they got draft gods smiled on him on Diggs. Jordan Lewis is a fine player. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that they've got to kind of figure these things out. But Eric Scott, who was inactive every single game last year, didn't even get on to play special teams or anything. Need to figure that one out. If not, you're going to have to draft some of these guys. You're going to probably have to use another premium pick to shore up this thing.
Yeah,
especially if you move on from Gilmore.
Real quick, you mentioned the Chiefs. I knew that it wasn't just Snead. On the opposite side, they got Trent McDuffie. They got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I'm not saying the corners are average.
They got another quarterback too.
I'm not saying the corners are average, but you can understand what I'm saying is one hand washes the other. One thing that helps those 2 corners be great is the fact that
Chris Jones.
Right, is the fact that they can
Chris
gain
Jones
from the
and those
defensive
2
interior.
cornerbacks, I think, were, in my opinion, that was a lot of what their defense was able to do. And I know your linebacker that you love over there,
Bolton,
yeah. They got some players on the defense. Carl Loftus can play.
Yeah.
But the cornerbacks were really good. And so the whole point I'm making is, I think you can make that argument that up front, that's where it all starts, and I get that. I was, because I was like, I know there's another quarterback.
Oh no, there was another corner.
I saw him really good quarterback. But defensive tackle, when you can get pressure up the middle, that certainly can affect the other team. But I am still a big believer in the fact that because last year I think Jonathan Hankins is a good tackle. I don't think this defense can do what they did last year, which they weren't great, but they were good. They were pretty good. Mm-hmm. They don't do that without the corners that they had, specifically Bland. So I just look at it and I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but you got to have an exceptional. Chris Jones is an exceptional defensive tackle. Right. I don't think there are a lot of those that are going to be coming in here, and then you say, okay, we got a cornerback and we're fine.
Well, you kind of, and granted, the Chris Joneses of the world, those talents aren't growing on trees.
Yeah, he's special.
So let me qualify my statement with that. That being said, as a scouting department, it is your job to find the next Chris Jones, right? It is your job. So then it's just going to the archetype of how you want to build your defense. Either you want to build it back to front or you want to build it front to back. I just prefer to build it front to back because I feel like, let's say you have, McDuffie and you have Snead and you have those guys on that end, or you have Diggs and you have Bland and you have these all-pro guys. That is magnificent. That means you're doing your job scouting-wise. But that doesn't mean because you have those guys that are dominant in the backfield that you can look at the front field and say, we'll tone it down a little bit because those guys, they got it.
By the way,
they got it.
That's
don't
true,
do that.
But that's also, the reverse is also true. You can't say, just because I got this guy up front, just because I got Chris Jones, I can just throw whoever out there quarterback. I think it goes both ways.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah. That's why I keep saying, for me, my way of building the defense will be front to back. But there are others that build back to front.
What does Zimmer want?
Zimmer wants front to back. He's a defensive front 7 guy. He's a former defensive backs coach, so he'll help coach those guys up in the secondary. But he features linebackers and he features a lot of big boys on that defensive tackle position. So yeah, he wants the defensive front 7 to be pretty nasty.
I think the linebackers area where you see a lot of what he does on defense. It is really predicated on those linebackers being extremely athletic and being able to go forward and back. They got to be able to do both. Yep. And that's where I'm wondering, like, what the Cowboys, all of us had linebackers number 1. That's a big area of concern for them this offseason of how
we got tired of watching safeties play linebacker.
Exactly.
That's what made you think.
And by the way, he played okay.
Yeah.
No,
it was just some teams can exploit it.
It's tough. It's tough for those kids to have to play like that.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. We'll flip to the offensive side of the ball. We're going to see how these guys rank that, and then we'll throw out a few names, see if these guys have some interest in a couple of free agents that will be out there come next week. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Okay, enjoy the excellent dining and boutique shopping, exciting events in the Star District in Frisco featuring dozens of North Texas' best restaurants and shops, plus a calendar full of family-friendly events. There's always something to shop, dine, and do in the Star District. Visit thestardistrict.com for more info.
Welcome back. We're in the final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking free agency, and it's going to be it's going to be an interesting thing. There are a lot of good players out there. There are a lot of good players that are going to be available this
Every year there are.
And the funny thing is that I don't know how funny it is for the Cowboys.
It's not
but
funny.
There are a lot of teams out there that are going to have a lot of money to spend because the salary cap went up a significant amount. I think it was like $30 million more per team. Yep. So teams that already had money now have even more money. So you say, the Cowboys got that $30 million, but there's other teams that have even more than that. So free agency is going to be wild. I think you're going to be seeing some guys out there that are really mid-level, solid type guys that are going to be getting big contracts because teams have money to spend, and so it's going to drive the number up. And by the way, that's the whole point of revenue sharing. So that's the whole point of how they have the economic model set up, is that the players get paid based upon how much the league makes, and if the league's making more money, players should make more money, and so good for the players in this situation.
When do we enter free agency?
Who are you talking about, we?
We.
When you talking about we?
Up our contracts.
Somos Bears need to show up. Somos 49ers need to show up.
Right. I'm just saying, the money stays on that side of the building. Brings them to this side.
I've learned one thing. You could get
share some of that.
You could get ownership's. You could get ownership's attention if somebody else really, really wants you.
No doubt.
I've learned that.
And by the way, moving around from team to team, ownership has to prove that. So they'll know if somebody wants you. So that works. All right, let's talk about the offensive side of the ball. We're going to do the same thing we just did on the defensive side of the ball. I want you to rank these 3 positions as far as most needed from a standpoint of upgrades and reinforcements. Let's start offensive tackle, center, and running back.
Tyron's not here. Tyler's not here.
Center,
tackle, running back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Center, tackle, running back.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Well, what's interesting, these are all connected. Like these are, they all affect each other.
Yeah, but I'm interested to know why running back is last for everyone when right now, literally, the top 2 running backs you had on your roster last year are not here.
Yeah, but you agree most of the. I feel like
2 reasons.
Okay, go.
One. My understanding and my learning from all these years of experience.
Award-winning journalist.
Flex on him.
Emmy award-winning analyst.
No, typically, running back, it's an easier, quote-unquote, easier position to replace when you bring in someone younger. It is key, however, to have a good O-line. Those guys that can open up those holes for you. Last year, in my opinion, the running back position, the running backs themselves, I don't think were fully the issue. Yeah, we saw Tony Pollard struggle, but at the same time, if we go down the list of those guys that were at running back, we could all agree, I think, that they were talented players, that we've seen them shine at moments and spark. So my belief right now is that if you solidify the O-line, the offensive line, and get a good solid group there, that will affect 100% what your running backs are doing. And to me, right now, how I see it, you can still bring in whatever other running back that it's valuable and still be effective on the field.
But you still need to get one. Because the question is, what's in most need of reinforcements and upgrades?
Free agency, you can go get your running back. This is one of the best. This is one of the best free agent classes.
But you got to go do it, though, right?
You got to go do it, and you could also draft too. That's another thing. It's not the draft class that was last year at running back. Brooks from Texas, Benson from Florida State. They've got guys. Ray Davis from Kentucky. Blake Corbin. They've got guys that you can go get. Tough, physical, downhill runners. Guys that got elusiveness. Guys that can catch. Guys that can pass block. This running back class, though, in free agency is super, super deep. And the one thing about people not caring about running backs is they've allowed running backs to get to the market. And I feel like, though, that there's going to be the game of musical chairs, and somebody's not going to have a chair. And that's where you have to be ready. You have to be ready, and people are going to take deals because they don't want to be left without a chair. You got to be willing, though, to jump in there and play in the game. That's the problem. If you got a budget, you say, I need a $3 million. What they'll probably do, my guess, familiarity, coaches, all those things, they're going to get Pollard back, and they're going to draft a running back. That's what I think they're going to do. I think that's how they're going to go back.
Is that sufficient for you?
It's sufficient for me. That's fine because I do like these college running backs. You give me a shot at – I know Brooks from Texas is coming off a knee injury. He should be okay. Catches the ball well, runs well. Again, coming off an injury, a little bit scary. Yeah, Benson from Florida State, powerful guy. Downhill runners, I talk tough. So, yeah, pair him with – now, I don't know what you're going to do with Deuce Vaughn. I'm sorry. I don't know. He's a shorter guy. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to play that one with him. I think there's a limited amount of things that you can do with him. But I think I'm going to have to look at my first two backs. I've learned that I need to have a complementary back with Pollard.
Correct.
So I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to fix this offensive line. If I have to fix the offensive line with a tackle and a center or a center and a tackle in rounds 1 and 3, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try my best to fix this offensive line. And if I could put that second round back in there somewhere, I'm sure looking at that possibility as well.
I don't know who's snapping the football to my quarterback, and that's terrifying. Yeah. That is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Well,
I also don't know who's
Brock Hoffman. They'll tell you, hey, okay. Brock Hoffman,
I don't know who's snapping the ball to my quarterback. That's terrifying. Okay. I don't know who's protecting the blind side of my quarterback as we have this conversation.
But guess what? You got, in my opinion, a top 10 at least. Top 10 tackle, left tackle sitting on your roster.
But until he's not moving.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that's why I look at this and I'm like, I can't
you would
put
move
tackle.
him.
I can't
you would
put
move
tackle.
him. They might. They're not.
They may not, and they may not. But all I'm saying is, if I'm looking at this and I'm saying, if push came to shove, and I had to do something, center I gotta do.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I got enough protection there.
Yeah.
Tackle, I feel like I could say I could make this work.
Sure
I like what I saw from Bass last year.
Sure you could.
I like what I saw from Tyler when he played tackle.
Yeah.
So I don't think those are. I understand
Welcome
that.
to
All I'm saying is when you start thinking about what is needed. I think tackle of these three is needed the least because if it was absolutely necessary, they got a tackle that would be a top 10, at least a top 10 tackle.
I think they 100% disagree with you.
That he would be a top 10 tackle?
No, that they need a tackle. I mean,
no. I get that.
I mean, you're thinking that you just slide the guy, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
perfect sense. I feel like though when you watch him play inside, he the holding penalties are there and stuff. He's better in that little short area, though. You put him on the edge, maybe you get a little bit more penalties. He's a hell of a player. He's a Pro Bowl player out potentially. He's a Pro Bowl guard too.
Yeah.
You're being logical.
Yeah.
You are. They don't see it that way.
I get that, and I guess
I'm
that's
sorry
the thing.
for saying it that way, but it seems logical to me. Kick the guy, put Bass in there, and draft a damn center and go to battle.
And then, by the way, you can also go out there, and if you want to draft a tackle in the second, third, fourth round, whatever,
sure.
if you're saying it's a deep draft for tackles,
absolutely.
go get me another tackle, and then we'll see how it goes. If the guy can come in here and play immediately, great. I will kick him right back down there to guard. I'll kick Tyler right back down there to guard. But I got an option for tackle right now. The blind side of my quarterback can be protected if I choose to do so.
Could be.
You've chosen it. You've chosen to do that.
Not to do that.
The question is, we're talking about an organization that we work for that sometimes they don't.
They have not chosen. But they've not chosen to do it. They've not chosen to do it. They could choose to do it. They have not chosen.
They could. They have not.
Several times they could have broken that glass in case of emergency last season, and they
chose
just
not to.
refused.
And they chose not to.
So goes back to my hill. You don't know who's protecting the blind side. So that's terrifying as well. As far as the running back is concerned, I do believe there's a good chance Pollard remains in the building. I'm completely fine with that. I'm on the record as saying such, but I'm not fine with him returning with the plan of him potentially being RB1. That does not work for me. I'm right there with Brian and several others who have this take. Pollard needs the bully guy to complement what he does. So I would say relegate Pollard back to what he was, an explosive RB2. Now, keep in mind, snap counts are, they vary. So this RB1 versus RB2, it's not really as hard of a line drawn as it used to be, okay? Because even when it was Zeke and Tony, actually Tony started some games, so he out-repped Zeke in certain games. You play to whatever you need to play for on a week-to-week basis. But I think you go out and you get a bully guy to complement Pollard if you're going to keep Pollard. Now, could that be in free agency? Could that be in the draft? Do either or. For me, I want to see that attacked up front. I understand completely what Brian is saying. There are some really, really good running backs that you will be able to get that you won't necessarily have to spend a first or a second round pick on in this particular draft. That being said, I don't want to go into the draft worrying about that when I know I have bigger issues bigger fish to fry on the offensive line, tackle, center. I want to go ahead and get my definitive compliment for Pollard in free agency. Could that be a Derrick Henry? Could that be a Saquon Barkley? I mean, the free agency pool is just so flush with Pro Bowl talent, all pro talent, that to blow right past that because you're saying, well, I can just draft a guy, I'm not good on that.
Let me ask you this question, and I don't think we're going to be able to get into all of these names. So I'll save that for you, Amber, next week. You can run through some of these names with them. But I will ask you this question about the running back position because there are so many big names that are going to be free agents. You got Saquon Barkley, you got Josh Jacobs, you got Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift. These are really good running backs.
Indeed.
Very well known and very accomplished running backs that will be a part of this free agent market. And just again, for the record, we are over here pontificating. They are currently on their rosters, but they will be free agents next week. So just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Are there any names in that group?
Come after Derek.
Yeah, come after me. Are there any names
none
in
of them
that
were
group?
tagged, so they're going to be free agents.
They are definitely going to be free agents. Are there any? Well, I guess their teams could sign them between now and then. But anyway, are any of those names more attractive to you than Tony Pollard? If you're going to get one in free agency, and let's say you're going to take one in the draft, is there a name that you like better than Tony Pollard as the guy you take in free agency?
I cannot shake this Derrick Henry-ness that's in my head. Just because one thing about Derrick Henry, and I will give him absolute roses for this, when he came out of Alabama, and at the time that he came out of Alabama, no Georgia bias here, but Alabama running backs to that point, for the most part, hadn't done well over the course of NFL history. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part. So I looked at Derrick Henry, and I was like, yeah, I did great at Bama, and but it's another Bama running back.
Thought he was a big target.
Yeah, no big deal. My bad. He is
pretty good.
Something else. Yeah. I don't want to hear anybody talking about, how many reps are on his body. This dude is Adrian Peterson different. That type of different where you can't quantify the number of reps that is on his body versus if you put those same number of reps on a Tony Pollard or someone like that. Derrick Henry, what he would instantly do to this running game. We talk about the running game is twofold: offensive line protection and the ability of the running back. Well, hopefully you address your offensive line situation. But in the times where you have injuries on the offensive line, you have flux, you have a merry-go-round like you had in 2023, Derrick Henry has the talent to make it seem like it's not an issue whatsoever. That is why, for me, he's the primo back. Now, of course, Saquon can do the same, but availability, right? Can he remain durable? Has some durability issues. Has Derrick? No. he just keeps chugging along and putting guys through the planet, with his bare hands. So for me, I love Tony, and I would love to have Tony back as RB2, but it's not a conversation. For me, it's Derrick Henry.
Give me Josh Jacobs. 4 years younger.
Yep.
Led the league in rushing 2 years ago. He had 1,600 yards. He's tough. He's physical. He's available.
More expensive.
I'm just telling you. You asked me which running back I wanted. You got your 2 minutes. I'll take my 2 minutes right here.
Take them.
Josh Jacobs is a hell of a player.
Yeah.
He catches the ball. He blocks. He's tough. He finishes. Last year he had to deal a little bit with a quad injury that his yards per carry weren't as good as we've seen in the past. But this guy you hand him the ball, things happen. And I do. I respect Derrick Henry. Just give me a little bit of a younger guy, but give me a guy that's got that ability to do everything. I'm not going to take this guy off the field. I'm going to swing it to him. I'm going to screen it to him. I'm going to hand it to him. I'm going to hand it to him on the goal line. He's going to score. He's a physical player. Josh Jacobs is that guy for me.
Well, with several of those names, right now at the running back position, in my mind, the grass does look greener on the other side. And it's one of those, given what happened last year, you're just like, all right, let's just change things up. And what I'm having a hard time imagining right now as we talk about free agency is what position are you really willing to make that big splash? What does the money, when you talk about the money, what does that look like for a running back like that? Because those guys, it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be
I honestly don't know what the running back market's going to look like from a money standpoint.
I think the music. I talk about the with the chairs. I don't think there are going to be enough chairs. I really don't. And the running back draft, the way it is, people are probably going to look at that and go, I could get cheaper help that way too. I think these guys. I think these running backs, when free agency opens, they're going to jump on some quick deals, because the money could dry up for them real fast.
And it might not be big deals. It might just be deals that make sense.
Maybe some one-year deals. Maybe you'll see some one-year deals here that the running. I just think the quality of the position of now in free agent, it's the best I've ever seen it. And I feel like that these guys are like, listen, we can't wait for money. We can't. We got to take it. We got to get on teams. Because it's a dying position to a lot of teams. Just they don't want to pay the guys.
And the fact of the matter is, when you think about the money, the reason why all these guys are available is because their teams didn't want to sign them to the money that they thought they were due, right? And so I think there's at least a sizable number of teams that are like, yeah, we're not going to necessarily pay you that amount of money. Yeah. And so I think you could probably get one of these names for a decent amount of money. Certainly not the kind of money running backs used to make back in the day when running backs were still considered like a premium position. I think you can get one. I
just feel like there's always there's always a team that will be willing to pay, whatever it is. And for the Cowboys, I'm just thinking what the Cowboys situation is heading into this free agency. They talk about being all in, but is the running back position the position where they're willing to be all in right off the bat? Like you said, you have to make those deals right away.
Yeah.
Are the Cowboys willing to be that? They haven't been that. Yeah. They haven't done or acted like that. They take their time, they analyze what the market is, the situation, and then they start making moves. And right now, I don't know if running back sits at the top of the priority for free agency for that first couple of days.
I actually agree with you, and I actually don't expect the Cowboys to be quick players in free agency this year. I think everybody's kind of looking at that and expecting. I don't expect it. I expect this year they're gonna kind of do it like they normally do it now. Yep. But that's also the thing. I do think some of these running backs will also be in that boat, because there won't be teams just jumping out to make the big splash signing with the big money for running backs early on. The way you get lower salary on players is when you wait a little bit. Those ones that are going to go immediately, those are going to be for big money deals. I don't think running backs are necessarily going to get those big money deals. That's my opinion. All right, appreciate you guys joining us. We're back next week. We'll find out soon. We will find out next week. By this time next week, we will be in the middle of it.
And we'll see exactly what's happening.
We'll see exactly what's happening for that. Until then, for Patrick Walker, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?